The show you've been waiting for. If this is your first time tuning into the Miguel Lopez Show, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share so we can continue bringing you the best content. I know it's been over a week since I last posted, but I was under the weather and I'm just getting my voice back. So without further ado, we're gonna jump right into it. There's so much to discuss. You probably heard this news, but I still feel it's my obligation to bring you this information. So let's get to it. Alright, as you all know, I'm a conservative, and yes, I am voting Republican, not because I'm all about party before country, but because I'm all about country before party. And if you listen to those words, country before party, you will absolutely, under no circumstances, vote Democrat, vote for Kamala Harris. But unless you actually hear those words and think about the meaning of those words, you will never vote Republican. So I implore you, listen, analyze your inner thoughts. What has the Democratic Party done for you? I see all these celebrities sponsoring Kamala Harris. They do not live in your reality. They are not being affected by the current inflation, by the current economics, by the current shit. I cannot make it. I make 100K and I'm struggling. They are not being affected by those facts. So whenever they sponsor those Democrats like Taylor Swift, Usher, John Legend, all these Hollywood's elite, Oprah, so and so forth, they are not living in your reality. They are not being affected by the current economic situation that America is facing. This has nothing to do with them. So they speaking and sponsoring Kamala Harris, who has no credibility, who was not elected, who didn't go to a primary, who didn't debate other Democrat candidates, but they blindly sponsoring her. Remember, those people, they're not living in your reality. They're not living in your neighborhood. They are not being affected by the current inflation. They're not being affected by going to the grocery to spend $500 just to get milk, eggs, and a few other stuff. They don't feel those. So before you vote, remember, don't listen to the celebrities. They don't live your reality. And under this administration, your reality just keep going worse and worse and worse. Remember 4 years ago under Donald Trump, where you could afford groceries, where you could afford eggs, etc. So keep that in mind. Anyway, sorry about my little rant, so let's jump right into it. We're gonna start with Donald Trump. I've been hearing a lot of comments, a lot of people talking about how Donald Trump is racist, how he has not done anything for the African American community or the black community, however you want to call it. But I grew up in New York City. I've seen what Donald Trump has done for the city. I've seen how all these celebrities, all these news channels, all the anchors used to praise Donald Trump, used to brag about having them on their show, used to bet money, put all the money in whatever they had to do to bring Donald Trump to be on their show. They were all about Donald Trump until Donald Trump saw what the Democratic Party is doing for America, and he chose to go Republican because he does not stand for a party. He actually stands for the country. He wants to make America what America used to be. He wants the best for what America is and what America has stood for. And ever since he chose to, like he has always done, represent America, but then go on a political spectrum and stand for America, everyone who used to praise him started bashing him. He used to talk well about Oprah, and Oprah is talking crap about him. He used to be in events with the Clintons and the Obamas and all of these people, and he went Republican. Now they all condemned them. They all continue speaking hateful stuff about Donald Trump. The divide that they are creating, the base, the partisan news media that continue bashing and talking all this nonsense about Donald Trump, when, like I said before, they used to praise him while he was Democrat. But the minute he switched to Republican, and because he got tired, like many of us, of what this Democratic Party has been doing for America, now he's the worst thing that I ever seen. And they choose to endorse Kamala Harris, somebody who did not compete against all the candidates for the spot that she's in. She's a chameleon. She keeps switching back and forth. It's not that she's a Democratic person. It's that she flip-flops so much that how can you trust someone like her? How can you trust someone who tells you, like, I'm all for this, but then when the wave changes, she's not for that. She's against it. Like, how can you trust someone who switches back and forth so much? But anyway, Donald Trump was interviewed by Patrick David. And if you haven't seen the podcast, I suggest you go see it. It's about an hour and a half long, but you will feel like it was not enough time, like he just goes smooth, and you can see the actual Donald Trump, the one that is all about America, that is not in a hostile environment, it has to be on the defense. This is an amazing interview, and Patrick David, his some key points that we wanted to know, not the normal question, like he hit it in the heart. But the first thing I want to talk about is how you never saw this in the mainstream media, how Donald Trump was one of the presidents who did the most for the NAACP. And even though the NAACP won't come out and admit it because they are still under the Democratic plantation, Donald Trump is the only one who made all this happen. It wasn't Obama, the first black president. He didn't do it for them. Donald Trump did it. Donald Trump created something that the NAACP doesn't have to continue coming to Washington every year to beg for money. It's a process that gonna continue giving them money year after year, but you never heard about this on the mainstream. I know about this because I go in depth. I search, I research, and I make due diligence to be well informed, because if we base our knowledge on the media, we are going to be blinded. But I just want you to see this video. Just so you know, we're going to talk about Donald Trump, saying he's been in many interviews. We're going to address Kamala Harris when she went to Fox, the hostile environment, like the view said, she went to a hostile enemy to prove that she's not afraid. Bitch, this is the first interview she has done where it's not MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS, and none of these channels. So please stop talking crap. I can't stand these people interview. But anyway, see what Donald Trump had to say about the NAACP in Patrick B. David show.
But I watched this guy last night against me, even if he was a little against me, but he wasn't. He was like, we have to defeat Trump. We have to defeat him. And I've watched him a little bit over the years, and every time I watch him, I say, what a sleazebag he is, what a bad guy. But I did it for black people. I did it for, it was purely, the only people that told me about criminal justice reform were African Americans, that's all. And I did it for them. I also did historically black colleges and universities, and I got them financing. I would see the heads of colleges come down after 2 years. They would come to Washington, like 45, 50 people, a group. They'd always come in, a big group. And I got to know them a little bit because they had to come through my office to get funding. And after the second time, I said to him, "Why do you keep coming down here for funding? Don't they give you?" He said, "No, they make us feel like beggars." That was the term. And a couple of them I got really frustrated. Some of them I still see a little bit. And I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Every year we come down for funding for the black colleges and universities, and they play a great role, a very important role, in my opinion." So I said, "So you mean every year you come down?" "We do. We come down together, and we go and see senators and congressmen, and we try seeing a president." But I got to know him, and I said, "This is no way to live where you come down." And I ended up getting them more money than they even wanted. And I got it done, and I got it long term. And I said, "Fellas, I just got this done for you. And I want to tell you a little secret. I'm unhappy about it." They said, "Why?" I said, "Because I'll probably never see you again. You'll never come down to Washington to see me." And I meant it actually in a friendly way, because I got used to seeing them. They were always coming down looking for money. I took care of their needs long term, more money than they wanted. I said, "You're going to need more money than that." And I got it for them. And I think that's why black men really like me. And I think black women do too.
I don't know about you, but to me, actions speak louder than words. We are in an election year. This might be the most important election in a lifetime. Now is the time, now is your chance, your opportunity to go out and vote. To vote for the person, the candidate that represents your value, that stands for America, that represents what this nation was built on. Many states have open early voting. So I urge you, if your state already open early voting, either in person or by mail, take advantage of this opportunity and go and vote. Do not wait until the last minute to cast your vote, because you never know what might happen in the future. Now is the time for you to go and vote. And remember, we are voting so much and in such a quantity that they won't be able to rig the election again. You know where I stand for, you know where my values are, you know who I think and believe is the best choice for America. And you, if you do your work, you will also know that where I stand and where many conservatives stand is where you should be standing. Do not wait, go and cast your vote for the presidential election 2024. Vote red, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance. Let's make America great again. Remember when Obama was running for office? Way back when he was talking about we're coming for a change, we're voting for a change, but he could never express what a change was? Exactly. Think about it. And talking about Obama, you guys saying that he's all about America, but if you are about America, if you care about Americans, how can you sponsor Kamala Harris? And he decided that the best thing to do was to bash African American, to tell them that they need to step aside from their beliefs and vote for Kamala just because she is black. But we all know she might be like this much black. Well, that's for another subject. And to me personally, this is such an insult to African American, because he's telling them that it doesn't matter what your beliefs are, what you stand for, what's your current situation. You just gotta vote for Kamala because she is in part black. And it doesn't matter about her policy, it doesn't matter what she stands for. You just gotta get out of your mind and vote for her because she is black. What kind of president, former president that actually cares for America would tell you that? To vote for someone because of their race or their color. I mean, whenever I fill up a job application, it says we do not discriminate based on gender, race, color, religion, etc., etc. But now we have a former president, Barack freaking Hussein Obama, saying that African Americans should vote for Kamala because she's black. Nope, That's not how it works. If you are black, if you are African American and you're listening to this video, I don't want you to vote for Kamala because she is black. I don't want you to vote for Trump because he is white and you identify with the white nationality. I want you to vote based on your belief and investigation on what is best for the country. Do not vote based on your race, because right now, I tell you and I kid you not, voting for Kamala Harris is the worst thing that can happen to America. She keep promising, when I become president this, when I become president that, when I become X, Y, and Z. But she's trying to stay away from the fact that she is in the current administration. I know Joe Biden is the president, but we all know he's one step closer to La La Land than he is to reality. So she's been running things behind the scene. The elite, the machine been running things behind the scene. The Obamas, the Clinton, the Pelosi, etc. BlackRock, Vanguard, they been behind the scene. So she is involved in that. And I do firmly believe that she's an asset. She's a puppet that is being utilized by the mainstream. She's not even a true American. She went to school in Canada, she went to college in Canada, and then eventually she moved to the USA. But she didn't experience what you experienced. She did not grow up in a middle-class household. Don't believe that crap. Her father, Marxist college professor, so is her mother. And they grew up in one of the wealthiest communities in Canada. So when she talks about being oh, I know what you're feeling, I'm in a no, she's not middle-class citizen. Don't believe that crap. Anyways, stop following the narrative of these democratic people that want to portray something that they are not. They talk about they all about America, but they are not. They talk about standing for American values, but they don't. They talk about democracy and all this crap, but what was democratic about pushing Joe Biden, the current president, off and appointing Kamala Harris without having her to debate other Democratic presidential candidate and just appointing her? What is democratic about that? So I need you to open up your mind, saying, actually question things. Stop listening to these celebrities. Stop listening to the Taylor Swift and the Usher and the John Legend when they're talking crap, like John Legend saying that President Trump can never identify with us because he was rich from birth. He inherited all this money. But if that's what you're saying, then by the same rhetoric, we should assume that none of your kids should be uphold to any value because they are inheriting the money that you are making. They were not born in a poor class. They were not born in a middle class. They are born in a rich class. So please wait the F up. And when the Democratic Party keep pushing the agenda about like Donald Trump cut taxes for his rich friends, what you don't seem to hear them say is how the rich friends of the Democratic Party are the Obama, the Pelosi, the Clintons, who have $1 million houses, investment everywhere, but they don't mention those people when they're talking about the rich elite. Why don't you mention those? Why don't you mention them? It's because they are part of the rich elite and they keep on investing and making more money. Donald Trump is the only president whose net worth went below what he used to be while in president, while in the White House. Obama, Pelosi, the Clintons, their net worth increased while in the White House. Donald Trump actually decreased because it's not about the money, he is about America. Remember, he doesn't need to do this, but he's doing this because he cares about us and what's going on in America. So think about that shit. Excuse my language, think about that and stop following the damn narrative from the Democratic plantation. You are no longer a slave. You are free to make your own decisions. So please make your own decision and don't follow the same freaking agenda. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. The All Smith Dinner in New York City, a charity event, and where politicians and big elites get to roast each other for a good cause. Talk about each other past, just a roasting content. Donald Trump was there. Guess who wasn't? Kamala Harris wasn't there because she was busy. Instead, she created a video and sent it, and the audience did not find it funny. This was a great opportunity for her to talk about issues that, not talk about issues, but roast herself and make up for the lack of known public appearance that she has done, for the lack of not having any interview with networks that are not democratic friendly, the lefty. I mean, she had one with Fox, and we will get back to that later, but this was a great opportunity for her to actually connect with some other Americans, but she chose not to attend. What can I say? You know where she stands. She doesn't stand for America. She doesn't stand for Christians. She doesn't stand for true American values. She just stands for Kamala Harris values, which, as you know, is like the wave in the ocean. They fluctuate and just go with the waves. I don't know where she stands. Like, I really do not care about her. Like, I would respect her more if she stood true to her beliefs. If she did not keep changing her beliefs to just follow the wave and go with the flow, I would have so much more respect for her. But because of that situation, how could I ever trust someone like that to hold the highest office? How could you trust someone like that? Like in your personal life, you don't trust someone who keeps changing their point of view and flip-flopping back and forth. So why would you trust the person in the highest office? Make it make sense, America. But anyways, let's put a few clips of what Donald Trump said and did, because this guy, I don't know how you can hate Donald Trump. I'm not saying he's a comedian, but if he does a stand-up, best believe I'm gonna be there, because this guy is amazing. And before I put it, an amazing point that I saw is when he was talking about roasting himself and saying something negative about himself, and he just go like, there's nothing to say. Yo, epic, epic, epic. Donald Trump is the truth. Kamala Harris wasn't there. Donald Trump was there, so put it in perspective. Put it in perspective. I'm not gonna tell you that she's the first vice president of running for a presidential seat that hasn't been there. Oh, also, Mr. Tampon Boy, Tim Walz wasn't there either. So it's like neither of them was there. So I want you to do your own research and search who was the last vice president or presidential candidate that did not attend this charity event, and then evaluate the situation. Does Kamala Harris really care about America, or Kamala Harris only care about Kamala Harris or Kamala, or however she pronounces it, because she says it different ways every time. No further ado, let's watch the clip.
Mayor Adams, good luck with everything. They went after you. They went after you, Mayor. Yeah, boy, I knew that. 9.5 months ago, I said, he just said something about the administration. He's going to be indicted any moment. And guess what happened? And these days, it's really a pleasure anywhere in New York without a subpoena for my appearance. It's been a long tradition for both Democrat and Republican candidates for President of the United States to attend this dinner. It's a rule. You got to go to the dinner. You got to do it. Otherwise, bad things are going to happen to you from up there. My opponent feels like she does not have to be here, which is deeply disrespectful.
The last Democrat not to attend this important event was Walter Mondale, and it did not go very well for him. I understand the real reason that she's not here is she's hunting with her running mate, spending a lot of time hunting. And we are doing well, by the way. The votes are starting to come in. You got to get out and vote. And Catholics, you got to vote for me. Just remember. You better remember I'm here, and she's not. I could have done that too. But if you really wanted Vice President Harris to accept your invitation, I guess you should have told her the funds were going to bail out the looters and rioters in Minneapolis, and she would have been here, guaranteed she would have been here. If she does any worse in the polls, they're going to bring him back again, I think. Chuck, he's going to do it. He's the one that got him out. That's the guy. Much more so than Crazy Nancy, I will tell you, because I know him. He did it. The fact is, we need new leadership in this country. Right now, we have someone in the White House who can barely talk, barely put together two coherent sentences, who seems to have mental faculties of a child, it's said. There's a person that has nothing going, no intelligence whatsoever, but enough about Kamala Harris. Let's get on to something else. Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't he look glum? He looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president. And I actually said, do you mind if I do that? He said, no, you got to do what you got to do. He's a pro. He's a professional. No, he's a good man, actually. I hate to say it. Don't ever use it against me, please. They'll say, this dinner was really setting me back when I say that. But I've known him a long time. There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris? Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me. Every one of those people is voting for me. A major issue in this race is child care, and Kamala has put forward a concept of a plan. A lot of people don't like it. The only piece of advice I would have for her in the event that she wins would be not to let her husband, Doug, anywhere near the nannies. Just keep them away. That's a nasty one. That's nasty. I told these idiots that gave me this stuff, that's too tough. Campaigning can take a toll on a family and family life, although I hear that Kamala and her husband carve out some really beautiful alone time at the end of the day for an intimate dinner, just Doug, her, and a teleprompter that she uses quite well. Tradition holds that I'm supposed to tell a few self-deprecating jokes this evening. So here it goes. Nope, I've got nothing. I've got nothing. There's nothing to say. I guess I just don't see the point of taking shots at myself when other people have been shooting at me for a hell of a long time and they shoot hard. But unfortunately, Governor Walz isn't here himself, but don't worry, he'll say that he was. He's going to say he was. I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim Walz. The stupid show, The View, is so bad now that the other day I was watching it and thinking to myself, you know what? They really need to bring Rosie O'Donnell back. That show is bad. Those people are bad. As I look around the dais, I see all of the usual suspects. For instance, Mayor Adams. I'd like to poke some fun at Eric, but I'm going to be nice. I just want to be nice because I know what it's like to be persecuted by the DOJ for speaking out against open borders. We were persecuted, Eric. I was persecuted, and so are you, Eric. The mayor's dietary restrictions are well known, but I've got to say I've never met a person who's a vegan who liked turkey so much. There's something about him with Turkey. I just found that out today. You know, I haven't been in New York that much. Well, I'd better wrap up because Mayor Adams told me earlier that I needed to make this one very quick, especially the city has reserved this room for a large group of illegal aliens coming in from Texas.
You see, how can you not love Donald Trump? He is just plain and simple, funny, American, patriotic, and what more can you expect? Yes, people talk crap about him because he's tough, he doesn't follow the agenda, he's not bought by this big corporation, and all the leaders fear him because they don't know what he's gonna do. Yes, that's someone who I want to be in the main office, who hold the highest office in the nation, to be the commander-in-chief of our troop, that all the leaders fear him because they don't know what he's gonna do. We all seen what happened. Biden-Harris administration, Israel, Palestine, Iran, Russia, Ukraine, and it keeps on going. Everybody is like, this is a weak administration, we're taking over. But when Trump is in office, they fear because they don't know what he's gonna do, and he doesn't play around. It's like, we're gonna cut it right where he started. So please wake that F up again. Like, I don't know how else to say, but let's continue. Kamala Harris, Madam Kamala Harris, Vice President under the Biden-Harris administration, was interviewed by Fox, and I don't know if we all heard the same interview, but I feel like she did not answer a single question. And I know we talk about economics and politics and human rights and abortion and all this stuff, but for me, the topic that concerns me the most is illegal immigration, because that just not affect our economic, it also affects our well-being, our crime rates, and everything else. When it comes to immigration, I know you guys call me a sellout because I'm against illegal immigration, because of the fact that I came here legally, my parents came here legally. It took me my parents left when I was 3 years old. I didn't see them until I was 12, 13 years old, because they wanted to make sure they had everything they needed for me to come here. So yes, call it is a personal and I need to move on, whatever. I'm against illegal immigration because of how it affected me as my parents coming here legally and not bringing me here until they had everything they needed for me to be sustained and not depend on the government. And this biatch, Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, she still cannot answer the question about her policies on immigration and how, as the borders are, so many unvetted immigrants, illegal immigrants came to the United States. And this interview, I'm not going to dive a lot in the interview because I was so frustrated, because everything she answered, it was blaming Trump. Bitch, I don't care. Donald Trump is not in the current administration. You and Biden are. And as much as you try to stay away from the bad policy from Biden and just keep the good one, no. You're part of the administration, the bad and the goods, which, thinking about it, I don't see any good that has happened under this administration. Everything follows you. Don't talk to me about when I become president this, when I become president that. You are in the current administration, and you have stated multiple times that you've been there when the final decision in important matters have been made. So for you to try to exclude yourself from this decision and just blame Biden, nope, it doesn't go when you stated yourself that you've been there. So you absolutely put your input on all these negative things that have affected America, and all this illegal immigration that have come to the United States, all these unvetted documents, all these unvetted illegal immigrants roaming our cities. Yes, call me a sellout, tell me I need to have some sense of humanity, no human being is illegal. Yes, you are not illegal as long as you stay in your country. The minute you cross another country, if you don't have the right paperwork, you are in fact illegal. And you liberals, Democrats that fall under the plantation need to wake up, because all these illegal immigrants, you think when they cross these borders, those countries have light immigration policies? No. They don't want any of them. They got tough immigration policies, but they also figure like, hey, the USA is an open house right now. Yeah, keep roaming. Go to the USA. Invade the USA so you don't save my country and destroy my economy, destroy my people, destroy my culture, destroy our way of living. So yes, they letting this illegal go through the country because they know the ultimate goal is to come to the USA. And a lot of these people already have maps of where they have to go, information what they have to do to receive benefits, because this administration, it is not tough on illegal immigration. It is not tough on none of that. It's just tough on legal citizen, law-abiding citizen who wants to uphold American values. But when it comes to immigration, this administration is all for open policy. Tell me how many children have been lost under the care of this administration. Where are these kids? And after we see this little clip of Kamala trying to answer the immigration situation and talking about, I was going to answer that, I'm going to get to that, but she never gets to it. I'm going to play a little clip of Elon Musk saying, which I do believe that he's onto something, because the fact that he says that the reason why all this elite and everybody is so against Donald Trump is because he will release that list, which is similar to the P. Diddy list, and they don't want that list to be released, but they're going to do everything in their power. And this is why I urge every one of you, if you are able to go and vote early, go and do that. In case something happens, I don't know where you are a Democrat. If you get what I mean, you know what I mean. So the minute your city, county, state open up early elections, voting, go and vote. Do not wait. Do not, I repeat, do not wait, because if something happens, next thing you know, you have become a Democrat. So go and vote. Let's watch the video.
I mean, they've put like whatever, 500 or 600 January 6 protesters in prison, and not one person on the Epstein client list.
Will that ever come out, do you think?
You know, I think part of why Kamala's getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Bret.
You know, voters tell pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration, because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number, do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Bret, let's just get to the point, okay? The point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a
an
rough
immigration
estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Finish,
Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please?
But
you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate,
I'm
and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising,
Okay.
and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you,
but actually is focused on fixing it.
6 Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise, Jocelyn Nungary, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday, campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Bret,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There is no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock trying to hold it all together.
Madam Vice President.
To ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election, because there was a solution, Bret.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungare's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss, sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in
her?
all fairness, I told you, I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
During that time, you said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking with border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you investigate and you are a serious journalist, they will tell you, we need more judges. We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Bret.
Well,
that's how this system works.
That's the premise of this question.
But
There were
that's how the
90
system
plus
works.
executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talk to the Border Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated, and I get it. They want support. They want support, and that's what that border security bill would have done. These guys down at the border, these men and women, they're working hard. They're working around the clock.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
So decriminalizing border crossings, like you said in 2019.
I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that as Vice President. I will not do that as President.
So these are evolutions that you've had.
But
I can continue playing this video, but I saw the whole interview, and honestly, she didn't really answer any questions. She just kept going around the question and like just going with the flow. And these people, I just bringing this up because The View, I have not seen a more useless show in the history of any network. And the people that go and see this show and sit in the stand and applaud all the nonsense that these ladies talk about, it amazes me. It amazes me. I swear, God, like, if you have any common sense, I still don't understand how can you be friends with these people. How are they talking that Kamala Harris went to enemy territory? She did an interview with this, and that Donald Trump is unable to do that he's running away from MSNBC, ABC, that he's not even able to spell MSNBC. Bitches, Donald Trump been doing interview and talking to every freaking network forever. Kamala Harris, what? She got like 5 interviews? give or take. 4 then are we friendly network. See how one we false and they're making this big deal. Donald Trump is talking to CNBC, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, and all these bullcrap networks that tends to go towards the left spectrum of the aisle. They follow the Democratic plantation and keep on pushing the agenda that Donald Trump is the biggest threat to democracy. First of all, again and again, we are not a freaking democracy. We are a republic. We're not a democracy. And if you're going to talk about biggest threat to democracy, that's Kamala Harris. How the heck she got elected to be the presidential nominee when she didn't even debate anybody else? So before you continue talking about that crap, think about it. You heard? So it's just amazing me that many of you believe this new media, this news media and anchor when they're talking about Donald Trump and talking all this negative stuff, and common sense is just out of the window. It's out of the picture. You guys don't think for yourself. You guys don't investigate. You guys don't analyze. You guys forgot that you have kids or you have a family. When your kids tell you something, you still want to investigate to make sure they're telling the truth. But when it comes to the Democratic leadership, you guys seem to lose every common sense there is. And I know there's no way for me to change your point of view. That has to come from your end. But I believe that Americans, true patriot, true citizen, people that really care for America, they are awake. And you guys continue believing this news media, this fake media, the agenda, and you have been complaining about the last 4 years, how things are tough, how you barely making it, but then you're gonna get up off your lazy butt and go vote the Democrats. Because they say, oh, the situation is because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump hasn't been in office in the last 4 years, so I do not care anything about what Donald Trump did before this administration took office, because anything that happened within this administration, I know some of you are gonna be like, oh, bad economy, it comes from the former president. No, you are in current administration, so anything that happens while you're in power, it falls under you. When I was in the military, anything that fall, whether it was my fault or not, the minute I assumed power was squat or anything, it will fall under me. Not the person that was running things before, it will fall under me, because at the moment, I'm the one in charge. And that's how I hold politicians. I hold them to the highest standard. Like, when you're in charge, I don't care who did what or what before you came in office. The minute you're in office, anything that happens, it falls under you. And you people don't seem to realize that. You don't seem to put one and one together. And that's why we are still in this struggle that, as much as I hate to admit it, this biatch might win, because so many of you are so blind and so intellectual, inept, and so incapable of thinking for yourself that you are actually going to get up and go vote for this biatch. Well, what can I do? There's nothing I can do. And if you think things are bad, remember, things are bad. It's under the current administration. You choose her to go next. Imagine how things are gonna get. But that's all I got for you guys right now. I'll see you in the next one.